guys, welcome back to your remote learning experience. This lesson is going to be for Wednesday, April 8th. Okay, so um, the plan for today is we are going to be starting a new unit on DNA and genetics. Okay, first we're going to get into DNA and also how DNA copies itself, so we know that DNA does copy itself before cells divide, like we learned about in mitosis and meiosis. But now we're going to dive deeper into that and see how that process actually happens and what DNA is all about and why it's so important for us. Okay? So just a couple of reminders, some of the changes that hopefully that you listened to in the last video is that Tuesdays are now going to be flex days. That's a great time for you guys to make up work that you have not done yet. Also, you have until the 13th to make up quarter 3 grades. So please get those grades into me as soon as possible. Anything that's missing, please check PowerSchool and I will absolutely help you out with that. And also quarter 4 has already started. You guys had a test yesterday through Google Forms. So make sure that you take that. I haven't gotten it from everybody yet. So I want to make sure that everyone has that done so that we can start off on a fresh note with DNA. Okay? So without further ado, let's get right into the lesson. So today we're talking about DNA, all right? And DNA is what we call, or DNA stands for deoxy, you don't have to write this down, ribonucleic acid. Okay, so DNA. Okay, and so DNA is a nucleic acid, which is one of the 4 types of macromolecules that we talked about. So it is a nucleic acid. All right, and nucleic acids just contain genetic information that is important for us. All right, so our DNA pretty much is responsible for everything in our bodies. All right, it kind of determines what we look like, what our body does, helps our body make proteins. It pretty much runs the show in all of your cells, or most of your cells. Okay? So today I want to talk about DNA structure. There is a graphic organizer that goes along with this so that you can kind of get a little more structure with this lesson. Okay, so just fill it in as you go. All right? So what DNA looks like is kind of like this. All right? It is what we call a double helix structure, meaning that it's 2 strands, one right here and the other right here, and they are kind of wound up together like this in a double helix, all right? And a double helix is kind of just like a twisted ladder. So if you picture yourself having a ladder in your hands, probably a smaller ladder, and then imagine that that the ladder is made of a flexible material, all right, and you're able to kind of twist it around, all right? That would be a double helix. One of the science teachers has a really great model of DNA, and I wish I could share it with you guys, but maybe I'll try to find a way to make a physical structure for you guys to see of DNA, okay? But that's the general structure of DNA. It is a double helix or a twisted ladder. Write that down for you. All right. DNA is also found in the nucleus of the cells. Okay, so you guys know this already. And then when cell division occurs, the cells need to get access to that DNA. All right. And like I said earlier, the DNA contains an organism's genetic information. Okay, it kind of determines everything in your body, what gets produced, what maybe doesn't get produced, what you look like. It pretty much does everything. All right, your DNA codes for everything. All right, so that's why it's super important that we need DNA, right? Because we wouldn't be living if we didn't have it. All right, so that is kind of a basic structure of DNA, and now I want to get into more of the nitty-gritty details of what DNA looks like. So I'm going to go to this whiteboard right here. Okay, so this looks a little strange to begin with, all right? But this is this structure right here is a zoomed in structure of this double helix that I showed you earlier. All right. So these two are one and the same. All right. This is the kind of basic structure that I showed you, but this is kind of zoomed in. All right. So DNA is actually made up of two strands, all right? So let's say, and I've kind of shown that here with the blue and the green, but I'm going to show it one more time. It has two strands, all right? So let's say I have a black strand right here. All right, that would be 1/2 of the DNA, all right? But then there's another strand right here. I'm going to make it red, black and red. All right? Sorry, my drawing skills are not the best. And that would be the other strand of DNA. And these strands of DNA combined and twist around to form that actual double helix structure, okay? But if you guys remember, nucleic acids have a specific structure, okay? And DNA is actually made up of a kind of important basic structure, all right? And that basic structure is this right here. And that is called a nucleotide. That is the basic structure of DNA. All right, it is called a nucleotide. All right, and a nucleotide is made up of this pentagon looking thing right here. This is called a sugar. All right, then this red circle right here is phosphate. All right, which is just a chemical molecule. All right, and this last one right here, this green part, is a base. Okay, so those are the three different parts of the nucleotide. All right, number one is the sugar. 2 is the phosphate. And 3 is the base. All right. So every strand of DNA has this basic structure, okay? So for example, I have a nucleotide right here, and then I also have another nucleotide right here. And same, this is for one strand, and I have that on the other side. One right here, and one down here. All right, those are all nucleotides, okay? So they all have a sugar, a phosphate, and some kind of base, okay? But now I want to get into the bases, okay? So let's see, do I want to make a new, no, I'll keep it right here. All right. So you're probably wondering what those bases are. What does a base mean? Okay, so a base is just like a chemical, it's a chemical compound, all right? And there are 4 different types of bases in DNA. Okay, you might have heard of them before. There's adenine, there's guanine, there's cytosine, and there's thymine. Okay, those are the 4 different kinds of bases that you can find in DNA. Okay, so in those green little boxes right there. Okay, so each one of these nucleotides has a specific base. Okay, And so the order of those bases, okay, so the bases are kind of like the rungs in the ladder, all right? So this is a twisted ladder, and the bases are the rungs. And the order of the bases in your DNA kind of is what makes you unique, okay? So human DNA is very similar between people because we are all in the same species, but it can vary from person to person, okay? The specific order of the bases, and that's what makes all of us different from one another, okay? But it's important to note that these bases are able to bond with each other, okay? I'm going to show like a little bond right here. They connect together, and that's what keeps the double ladder in place, all right? But you might be wondering, well, which bases can bond to the other bases, okay? So a good way to remember that is apple in the tree, car, whoa, it's a bad A, in the garage. And this just lets you know that adenine will always bind to thymine, and cytosine will always bind to guanine, okay? So adenine always binds to thymine, and cytosine always binds to thymine, okay? So another way to kind of remember these bases, you don't have to say them all in their full names. A lot of the times you can just abbreviate them with the first letter, okay? So A, C, T, and G, okay? So if I say A, I mean adenine. If I say G, I mean guanine. C, cytosine, and T, thymine, okay? So if I were to have a base right here, let's say it's adenine, okay? Looking at this little mnemonic, I know that the apple goes in the tree, so that means that adenine is going to have to bind to thymine, okay? So let's say I have down here, this base is guanine, or G, okay? I know that the car goes in the garage, so that means that guanine is binded to cytosine, this base over here. Oops. And the bases are just those green boxes, okay? So that's kind of like the basic structure of DNA, all right? Each DNA strand has a series of nucleotides, all right? And those nucleotides contain a sugar, a phosphate, and a base, okay? And the order of the bases is what makes your DNA unique, all right? And those bases can specifically bind to other bases. So adenine always binds to thymine, guanine always binds to cytosine. Okay, so that's very important to remember. Apple in the tree, car in the garage. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to go over for today in terms of DNA structure, because DNA can kind of be a lot sometimes. Okay, but I'm going to give you guys that graphic organizer to do. It's for you to kind of organize your notes. There's no need to submit it unless you want me to check it for you. I will absolutely do that. Okay, but that's going to be it for today's lesson. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And this is a reminder to get your quarter 3 grades in. Quarter 4 has started, and make sure that you stay happy, healthy, and safe in this pandemic. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys very soon.